Welcome to this tutorial on Searchlight filters. Searchlight's filtering mechanism, which is one of Searchlight's most powerful features, especially when used in combination with Searchlight's Search Find Actions capability. In order to see these two features in action, please watch Searchlight's Search Find Actions tutorial. Before jumping straight into the tutorial, let me explain a little bit more about what Searchlight's filtering mechanism is all about. The Searchlight system provides the capability of performing very fast, multi-threaded searches across very large datasets. However, typically, only a small proportion of files within any dataset is of any interest, so searching the contents of all files is inefficient. So, rather than search all the files within a large dataset, by using Searchlight filters, you can define, quite precisely, which files you wish to search. As an example, you could configure Searchlight to only search those files that were created after a certain date, were of a certain size, whose file name contained a certain string, and had a specific file extension. What I've just described is a fairly simple example, as Searchlight allows an unlimited number of filter conditions to be applied to a search. When a filter is applied to a search, then all enabled filter conditions must be true in order for a file to be considered to be found. It should also be noted that in order for a file to be found as part of a search, then not only must all of the enabled filter conditions be true, but any other matching enabled conditions, such as finding a word, a phrase, or a sequence of characters, for example, must also be true. For this tutorial, we are going to use the saved search definition file sort, which is installed by default, and will be familiar to you if you have watched Searchlight's Search Find Actions tutorial. So, now you have an outline of what Searchlight's filtering mechanism is all about. Let's continue with the filtering demonstration. Filter definition files can be created, edited, and deleted by selecting the appropriate option from the Search Filters menu, which is accessed via the top-level Files menu. So, now you know how to create, edit, and delete filter files. Let's begin the tutorial by selecting the Search This Computer icon from the main screen, whereupon the default saved search definition is displayed. Since we want to use the file sort saved search definition, select the Load button, and then select File Sort from the list displayed. It can be seen that the file sort saved search has an associated filter file, also called file sort, associated with it. If we select the pencil icon associated with the filter, the Maintain Search Filters screen is displayed. It can be seen that this filter file has a number of filter definitions, with each one being defined to identify a file with a specific file extension. On double-clicking the top filter definition, the Editing Search Filter screen is displayed, which we will now discuss in detail. The enabled checkbox, if checked, forces the search engine to include the filter definition during its processing. The Filter Type drop-down list defines the type of filter condition to be applied. On selecting an option from the Filter Type drop-down, the options available in the Filter Match Condition drop-down change accordingly. For instance, if we select File, then the options available in the Filter Condition drop-down list include options including size is greater than, size is less than, and several more options that are applicable to a file. Conversely, by selecting a file type of file name, the filter match conditions change to include, starts with, and ends with, plus several more options that are specific to a file name. Values entered for the filter value can be either case-sensitive or case-insensitive, depending upon whether the checkbox case-sensitive is checked or not. Finally, on this screen, let's discuss the Search Find Action Tags field. This field can contain none, one, or multiple text values, separated by a comma. This field provides the linkage between a file that has been found by a search, and the Search Find Actions definition that is to be performed upon a found file. When a Search Find Action is defined, one of the fields that gets completed is the Tag Equals field. During processing, The search find actions engine attempts to match the tag equals value, defined as part of a search find action definition, with a tag that may have been attached to a found file. If a tag is found to match, then the corresponding search find action is executed on the found file. Please take the time to watch the search find actions tutorial, where the linkage between search filters and search find actions is discussed in more detail. On exiting the Editing Search Filters screen, we are taken back to the Maintaining Search Filters screen. Although we have only looked, in detail, at the top filter definition of the list of filter definitions displayed, the other filter definitions are all very similar. We mentioned earlier that all filter conditions against a single file must be true in order for a file to be considered to be found as part of a search. As such, you might be wondering, how can all of the filter conditions displayed be true for a single file, as clearly a file can only have one file extension? Well, in this case, any of the file name extension filters can be true in order for a file to be found, as the radio button named at least one file name condition is selected, and, as such, if only one of the file extension filter conditions is true, then a file will be considered to be found. As mentioned previously, Searchlight's filtering capability is extremely powerful, and the bottom half of the Maintaining Search Filters screen adds some very powerful features. So, let's now look at these features in more detail, starting with the two radio buttons, namely, at least one directory name condition, and all directory name conditions. In the example we looked at, all the filter types were of type filename. However, one or more of the filters listed could have been of the type directory name. These two radio buttons allow you to choose whether a single directory name filter is to be matched, or that all directory name filters have to match in order to signify a positive match. You may think that it is not possible to match all directory name filters at the same time. However, this is possible, because one filter could specify that a directory name starts with C:/, and another filter could specify that a directory name ends with the string reports. Furthermore, a directory name filter could also specify that a directory name contains a certain string of characters, for example, the word financial. So, hopefully you can see that multiple distinct directory name filters can be combined together in order to produce compound matching conditions. The directory name match type radio buttons specify whether the matching conditions are applied to the full path directory name or just to the last directory name on the full path. The file name filters, which are specified on the right-hand side of the filter definition screen, are defined and behave in a similar way to directory name filters, as just described. The two radio buttons, positioned in the middle of the filter definition screen, and separating the directory name and file name conditions, provide a mechanism of logically combining directory name and file name conditions. For example, if the and radio button is checked, then both the directory name and the file name filter conditions must both be true in order for the filter to yield a positive result. The Search Find Actions tag field provides the linkage between a found file and any search find action that may be linked to the search. As we saw earlier, each filter condition can have its own search find action tag associated with it. The Include Filter Search Find Action Tags checkbox, if checked, enables all of the search find action tags defined within each of the individual filter definitions. Conversely, if this checkbox is not checked, then any search find action tag defined as part of a filter definition will be ignored. Sometimes, it's more convenient to define a series of search find action tags once and have them apply to the filter definition as a whole. In such cases, a single list of comma-separated search find action tags can be defined in the Search Find Action Tags field. The bottom panels of the filter definition screen enables special filters to be defined for use when processing Microsoft Outlook email files, which are typically files with a file extension of .pst. These conditions, shown in the bottom panel, are specific to the processing of email data files, and operate in a similar way to those just described, for the processing of directory and file names. Finally, Looking towards the bottom of the screen, the conflict validation checkbox, if checked, will apply a series of validations against the defined filter definitions and report any filter conflicts. For instance, if two filter conditions exist, with one filter condition specifying that a file must have been created before March 1, 2024, and another filter condition exists, specifying that a file must have been created after March 1, 2024, then clearly a conflict exists. The two filter definitions, just described, would be valid if they were joined with an or Boolean condition, but a conflict would arise if they were joined by an and Boolean condition. Having watched this tutorial, you should now have a good understanding of how to use Searchlight's filters in order to construct complex search definitions. Well, that concludes this tutorial on Searchlight's filtering capability. I hope you found it useful, and don't forget to check out the many other Searchlight tutorials available. And thank you for watching.